the window is closing. Not on the possibility of what exists between you and this person, on the specific period of internal deliberation that has been standing between what they actually want and the action of reaching toward it. The window that is closing is the window of not yet contacting you. It has been open for longer than it should have been. It has been maintained through a combination of the specific kind of pride that makes people hesitate longer than the situation warrants, and the specific kind of fear that makes people wait for conditions that are never quite as perfect as the waiting seems to require. That window is closing now, not eventually, now. The specific close, the energy is already positioning itself, quality of something that is about to cross from the territory of not yet into the territory of done. They have not moved on. I want to say that plainly before we go anywhere else, because I think it is the most important piece of information this reading is carrying, and it deserves to be delivered without softening. Whatever has passed between you and this person, whatever the period of distance or silence or unresolved quality has looked like from your side, whatever narrative of moving on might have presented itself as the most available interpretation of what has been happening, the cards are telling me clearly that it is not the accurate one. They have not moved on. What they have been doing is processing, sitting with what existed between you and what it meant and what is still present in them in relation to you, and what the persistence of it means, and what, if anything, to do about all of that. The processing has been taking longer than it should have, because genuine processing of something real tends to take longer than the processing of something that was not actually real, and what was between you was actually real. Let me show you what the cards confirmed. Let me describe what I felt the moment this energy opened, because the initial impressions were specific and layered, and each layer carries something worth naming. I felt the particular quality of someone at the end of a deliberation rather than the beginning of one. Not the restless, still going in circles quality of someone whose processing has not yet reached a conclusion. The specific, quieter, slightly resolved quality of someone who has arrived somewhere, who has, through whatever path the processing took, come out on the other side of the deliberation at a specific place, the place of decision. I also felt something I want to name carefully because I think it is the most important of the impressions. I felt you still occupying the primary position in their interior, not as a presence they are managing or a memory they are processing toward completion. As the specific, active, this is still what matters, primary orientation of someone for whom you have not receded into the background, but who has simply been in the specific, unresolved position of carrying what they carry about you without knowing what to do with it. That position is ending. What they are going to do with it is contact you. The first card in this reading arrived in the position representing the current state of what exists in this person in relation to you, what they are actually carrying as we sit in this reading right now. And I want to describe it carefully because I think the accuracy of this picture is the foundation of everything else. This card shows a figure in a landscape of cups, both standing and overturned, with the quality of someone who has been through something and who is now in the specific, neither here nor there position of someone who has not yet moved forward from what they have been through. The number of this card speaks to a pause, not an ending, a pause. The specific quality of someone who is in between where they were and where they are going, who has not resolved the in-between into forward motion, but who has also not retreated. What I am reading in this card about what they are carrying is something I want to name specifically. They are still in what existed between you, not in the way of someone who is clinging to something they know is over, in the way of someone who has not had access to the experience of it being over, because for them it is not over. The cups in this card that are standing, the ones that have not been lost, are the specific cups of what remains. And what remains in their interior is significant. You, the specific, real, fully formed quality of what you meant and what you are and what the possibility of something genuine between you represented. I also want to speak to the quality of the pause this card describes, because I think it matters for understanding the timing element of this reading. A pause is not a stop. It is the specific dynamic quality of something that is still in motion, but that has temporarily arrested its forward movement for the purpose of something. In this case, for the purpose of the deliberation that is now completing, the pause is ending. The forward motion is about to resume, and the forward motion is in your direction. I want to name something about what the specific combination of cups in this card tells me about the quality of what has been retained versus what has been lost during the period of silence. The cups that are overturned have spilled. What was in them has gone, but the cups that are standing are full. What is in them is intact and present, and not diminished by the time that has passed. What I am reading in the standing cups in relation to you is the specific, full, not diminished quality of what this person carries about you. The period of distance has not reduced it, has not allowed it to fade through the ordinary attrition of time. It has remained at the same level of presence and significance that it was at when the period of distance began. This is in itself a form of information. Feelings that fade through inattention or through the ordinary passage of time were not as rooted as the feelings that remain intact regardless of attention. What remains intact in this person is genuinely rooted. The second card arrived in the position representing why the contact is arriving now rather than earlier. What has specifically shifted in this person to move them from the position of not yet contacting to the position of about to contact. And this card illuminates something I find genuinely interesting. This card shows a figure emerging from water into clarity, sword raised toward an unobstructed sky, in the quality of someone who has passed through the murky, submerged quality of something difficult and who has arrived at the specific, clean, finally visible quality of someone who can see clearly after a period of not being able to. This is the card of clarity arriving, of understanding, surfacing after a period of being underneath. What I am reading in this card about what is shifted is something I want to name directly. Clarity has arrived. Not the clarity of having figured everything out or of having resolved every complicated element of the situation between you. The simpler, more foundational clarity of having answered the basic question that the deliberation was really about. That question is whether you still matter to them, whether what existed between you is genuinely present in them, or whether the period of distance has allowed it to fade into something more manageable. And the answer that the clarity has produced is this: you still matter, significantly, in a way that has not faded and has not resolved into something more manageable despite the period of distance. The clarity is not comfortable. Clarity that arrives and confirms the continued presence of something significant that has not yet been acted on tends to produce the specific quality of, okay, now I actually have to do something. That is what is happening. The arrival of clarity has produced, the arrival of decision has produced, the arrival of contact in the next window. Does this feel like it is landing on something real, Virgo? The specific sense of someone who has been in a period of unresolved processing in relation to you and whose energy has recently shifted in the direction of decision, let me know in the comments. The third card arrived in the position representing what specifically is going to be said when the contact comes, the content of what is approaching. And I want to describe this carefully because I think the specificity of the content matters for how you receive it. This card shows a single cup held aloft from above, with water flowing from it freely in the quality of something that has been stopped up and that is now simply flowing without the resistance of containment, and a dove descending toward it in the imagery of something genuine and peaceful arriving in the space between two people. This is the card of the pure, undiluted, nothing managed out of it emotional offering, of feeling in its most direct, most genuine, least defended form. What I am reading in this card about the content of the contact is something I want to say plainly. They are going to tell you the truth, not the managed version of the truth that is designed to produce a particular response, not the carefully calibrated version that maintains strategic ambiguity. The actual truth, this is what I actually feel, this is where I actually am, this is what I actually want version of what has been present in them throughout the period of silence. The specific truth is that they have not moved on, that you remain primary in their interior, that what existed between you has not resolved into something they can simply set down and walk away from, and that they are, in whatever specific words they find in the moment of the contact, going to bring that truth into the shared space between you rather than continuing to carry it privately. Inhale with me, Virgo, because the fourth card is the one I want you to receive with the most complete presence, because it speaks not to them but to you and to what you are bringing to this moment. This card shows a figure at the absolute fullest expression of what genuine, mature, settled emotional intelligence looks like when it has arrived at its complete form. The Queen of Cups at her highest expression, completely self-possessed, carrying the full quality of her own depth and her own warmth and her own knowing without requiring anything from outside to confirm or validate it. The quality of someone who is fully inhabited in who they are. And this card, in the position of what you are bringing to this moment, is describing you. What I am sensing in this card about where you are is something I want to name clearly. You have been doing your own work in this period. Whatever the period of silence has looked like, you have not been standing still waiting for it to resolve. You have been processing, developing, becoming more fully yourself in the specific way that difficult and unresolved situations tend to push people toward greater self-knowledge. If the people are paying genuine attention, and the Queen of Cups in this position is confirming that the work has produced something, a quality of self-possession and of knowing that you are bringing to whatever comes next that is more complete than what you were bringing at the beginning of this period. When the contact comes, you will be meeting it from this quality of settled, grounded, fully present knowing, not from the anxious, unresolved, what does this mean quality of someone who is still working through what they feel. from the clear, inhabited, this is who I am quality of someone who knows themselves well enough to know how to respond to what is being brought to them. I want to address something specific about the 2 4-hour timeline, the reading's title names, because I think it deserves honest engagement rather than either credulity or dismissal. Timing in tarot is always interpretive rather than literal. What 24 hours is pointing toward in this reading is not a precise countdown, but a quality of proximity. The quality of something that is in the immediate window rather than the distant future. The energy I am reading does not have the quality of something that is approaching from a far distance. It has the quality of something that is already close, that has already reached the phase of its approach where the remaining distance is short rather than long. The energy of decision has completed. The energy of clarity has arrived. The energy of movement has begun. All 3 of those things together in the specific configuration this reading is showing me tend to produce contact in the very near window, not at some future point when conditions feel more perfect. In the immediate, this is happening now window of someone who has run out of reasons to delay, be present in the immediate window, not in a state of waiting that would compromise your own forward movement. In the specific, grounded, fully inhabited quality of someone who is living their life and who is open to what arrives rather than straining toward it. The 5th card arrived in the position of what the contact and the conversation and the whatever comes next of this particular moment is opening into, and I want to describe it with the warmth it carries. This card shows 2 figures in the genuine, mutual, fully inhabited quality of something real being fully acknowledged between 2 people, in the specific quality of 2 people who are genuinely meeting rather than managing the encounter from a careful distance. Both cups extended, both figures present. The quality of actual, real, this is happening contact between 2 people who have something genuine between them that is finally being allowed to exist in the open rather than in the private interior of one or both people involved. What I am sensing in this card about what the contact is opening into is something I want to name simply and directly: a conversation. The real one. The one that the silence and the distance have been deferring. The one that requires both people to be present with what they actually carry and to allow what they actually carry to exist in the same space simultaneously. The conversation that the period of processing and the arriving clarity and the decision have all been moving toward. I also want to speak to the mutual quality of this card because I think it is one of the most important things in the reading. The cups are extended toward each other. This is not one person's reality being delivered to a passive recipient. It is the imagery of 2 people who are each carrying something toward each other and who are, in the moment this card is pointing toward, finally in the position of allowing what they carry to meet. What is coming is an invitation to that meeting. What you carry into it, the settled, grounded Queen of Cups quality the 4th card described, is what the meeting is going to be shaped by as much as what they bring. You are not a passive recipient of what is coming. You are, as you have always been, an active presence in whatever exists between you. I want to say something about the specific quality of what this card is pointing toward as a destination rather than simply as an event. The genuine meeting it depicts is not a resolution in the sense of everything being figured out or decided or perfectly clear. It is a resolution in the sense of something that has been in the private interior of one person finally entering the shared space where both people have access to it. That entering changes what is possible, not because it automatically produces a particular outcome, but because it makes the actual, honest, genuine conversation available in a way that it was not available before. What the contact opens is the possibility of the real conversation. And the real conversation is what produces whatever comes next at the quality of reality and genuine choice rather than at the quality of assumptions and projections operating in the absence of actual information. Before I close, I want to say something about the title of this reading and what it means for this specific Virgo collective that someone has not moved on. Not moving on is often treated as the primary evidence of unresolved dysfunction, as though the healthy and correct response to any separation or period of distance is always to move on, to redirect, to release, and that the failure to do so represents something pathological in the person who has not done it. I want to offer a different frame. Not moving on is also what appropriate response to something genuinely real sometimes looks like. When what existed between two people was genuinely significant, when the specific, real, irreplaceable quality of what was present is actually still present in the interior of someone who has not been able to redirect it elsewhere simply because it has not resolved into something directable. The not moving on is not pathology, it is accuracy. It is the interior doing what genuinely responsive interiors do, which is to reflect the actual quality of what they have encountered rather than the convenient or expedient version of it. This person has not moved on because what exists between you has not allowed itself to be set aside. That is not weakness. That is the specific, honest, direct response of an interior that is accurate about what it contains. And what it contains clearly and fully is still you. I want to add something about what the not moving on tells you about the quality of what is being brought in the contact, because I think it is worth receiving explicitly. The contact that is coming is not the contact of someone who has worked through what they felt and arrived at a place of neutrality and is reaching out from neutrality. It is the contact of someone who is still in it, who carries what they carry about you at full weight, who has been living with that full weight through the period of silence rather than having managed it into something lighter. The contact is going to carry all of that weight with it, which is why it deserves to be received with the full, present, grounded quality of the Queen of Cups that the fourth card confirmed you are bringing. Not from a distance, from presence, because what is being brought deserves genuine receiving rather than careful management. If this reading landed somewhere specific and real and close, if the description of someone who is still carrying what existed between you and who is approaching the point of contact resonates with something you have been sensing in the energy around a specific person, please share it with a Virgo who might be in the same window and who needs to hear that the silence has not meant what it appeared to mean. And leave a comment. I want to hear who this is about for you and what you have been sensing. I read every single comment and I hold what is shared in this space with genuine care long after this video ends. Until next time, Virgo, the window is closing on the period of not yet. What is coming is the contact in the immediate window from someone who carries you still, completely without having been able to set you down. Be there when it arrives. All of you. The version of you that knows exactly who she is what they are reaching toward. And she is worth reaching toward. Always was.